Welcome to the Synergy Sessions, Aging Smarter in Silicon Valley. I'm your host, Tom Nelson, and I know firsthand as a family caregiver and part of the sandwich generation how tough it can be to take care of your aging parents while balancing your own life, career, and family. We'll bring you the experts and information necessary to help make your life a little bit easier and you a little bit smarter. Synergy Sessions is brought to you by Synergy Home Care, bringing you personalized in-home care and peace of mind to Silicon Valley families. I really do hope you enjoy the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Synergy Sessions, Aging Smarter in Silicon Valley. Today, I'm super excited. We have Amanda Misuraca from the Office of Veterans Services. She is a very busy person helping veterans. And I'm just so appreciative and grateful that she's here today to help share what they do and how they help serve veterans. Well, first off, welcome, Amanda. I'm so happy to have you here on
Thank
the
you so
Synergy
much,
Session.
Tom. I'm really happy to be here with you.
Excellent. So I'm going to tell a little bit about you and the mission of the what's affectionately known as the VSO to all of us in the industry. So Amanda has a master's in social work, is a social worker and a veteran service representative for the county of Santa Clara. And that's kind of one of the things we'll talk about, the difference between the VA and the VSO and how they work together. But here's the mission, I think captures it really great. So the Santa Clara County Office of Veterans Services is committed to providing service to veterans, their dependents, and survivors. The office has dedicated advocates for the veterans of Santa Clara County. The Veterans Services Office strives to promote and honor all veterans and enhance the quality of life and their dependents and survivors by assisting in assessing federal, state, and local, or accessing, I should say rather, federal, state, and local veterans benefits. So that's a mouthful, obviously. So I think one of the interesting things is this isn't just for veterans themselves, but also loved ones, survivors, etc. So why don't we just start off as a social worker or veteran services representative? What do you do generally in your role, and kind of an overarching overview of what the VSO does?
Sure. So my role as a social worker is pretty unique. I sit in a grant position through the Prop 63 mental health grant. It's a very unique position, and I'm so grateful to be the one that is doing this. What I do is go out into the community and I kind of meet veterans where they're at. I go into skilled nursings. I go to different colleges to help military members, but also their family members who might be eligible for different benefits education wise, the jails, the Veterans Treatment Court. I kind of go everywhere. The Prop 63 mental health grant focuses on, of course, mental health, but all of those things that I just mentioned have a huge role in mental health, and mental health affects those as well. And so I provide resources, I provide referrals where I can, and that doesn't just say, oh yes, I'm going to send you to the VA. I also have a lot of community resources. That's just important as the VA. And then as a veteran service representative, which I am accredited through the VA, and then I'm also accredited nationally, which everybody in the office is. And so that's
Oh, wow.
pretty exciting. And so while I focus on mental health, all the people in the office and myself are accredited to do not only claims benefits, but whether it's income verification, we do college tuition fee waivers, and of course your traditional claims and getting that service connection and or pension. It just depends. And then of course we service surviving spouses and to see how we can best benefit them, now that their service member has passed. And then also dependent children, depending on the situation and the age. We also assist with a number of different things, typically education benefits, but there's a very broad spectrum to what we do.
Right. Okay, thank you. So I think that kind of blends right in or leads to what is the primary difference between the Veterans Administration, the VA, and the Office of Veterans Services? Because they both have veterans in it. There's probably some confusion there. So just, where do you start, the end, or what's the primary difference in scope?
Sure. So you're correct. We get confused all of the time, and that's okay. It happens. But the difference is, of course, they are federal and we are a county entity. Um, we advocate for the veterans in the community, and we help them walk through the VA process. So if you were to go to a VA, they would help you do a claim. They typically have people that can help, but the main difference is that we can really dig deep. We can look into different background information such as their personnel file, their service treatment records. Um, and we can do that deep dive with them and really assist in figuring out the best way to move forward with their claim or their loved one's claim. So, yeah.
Great. Yeah, because I'm sure and I had this question near the bottom, but this kind of makes sense to move to it now. So, what exactly is the process in general for somebody? I mean, if they have the first they've heard that I might be eligible for benefits, or my spouse, or somebody else, what is that process? And I'm guessing that you help them understand their eligibility, and then maybe connecting them to or identifying the various benefits that they might be able to connect to and take advantage of?
Yes. So what we would recommend is, when somebody has that thought or somebody says, "Hey, you're eligible, go find out what you can receive or what you're eligible for." We conduct a benefits review at the office. People can walk in on Tuesdays and come see us. Those appointments are smaller, they're 30 minutes, whereas if you schedule that appointment, you've got an hour. And during that time, we will, of course, talk to the veterans, see what they've done in the service, what they've done since the service, and then we always hope that they bring their DD 214. We can also put together that story. It's a small piece of paper, but it tells us a lot. And that piece of paper, if you're going to come for a benefits review, bring that with you because that's the key to opening up the doors for benefits. We don't turn anybody away, even if they have other than honorable or dishonorable, because things happen and there could be a reason why that discharge is the way it is, and maybe we can help. Of course, we don't guarantee, but we do encourage everybody, regardless of their discharge status, to come in and have a chat with us.
Okay, that's great. So I'm gonna step back a little bit. Who are you finding that you're primarily serving? So we talked about all the different folks, but who are you primarily serving, and where is are you seeing kind of the greatest need out there, or the people that are eligible that maybe aren't utilizing their benefits?
Sure. So right now we have a wide range. We have we there's a couple of us that have World War II veterans on our caseload, which is exactly wow. And then we have a lot of us have veterans who are just getting out, so it's a really wide range of, veterans that come into the office. But I would say right now a lot of Vietnam veterans are coming into the office, whether it's a push from a loved one or from a buddy. They're a very unique and very special era. And so that's primarily right now what we're seeing. And honestly, with that, it is a combination of not only the veteran, but their loved ones and their surviving spouses, right? Because they were exposed to so much and they are passing. And then their spouses come in and they've been a caregiver for so long to either the children up until the veteran, and veteran was, disabled for whatever reason, and they became that caregiver. And so it's leaving those spouses in a very tough situation, and that's there are benefits, but specific to our area, it's very difficult for them to sustain any kind of living here, really, to be honest.
Mhm.
And then I
Yeah,
think another population that we always need to do better with is the unhoused population.
yeah.
And that's a challenge because it can be dangerous. We're happy to do it. We've been doing it. We actually just participated with the VA in a huge event called Surge. It was the first one, and it was pretty successful in getting some veterans off the street and housed.
Wow.
Kind of a little bit off track. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, that is a
Yeah,
real thing that
it is. It
people
is,
need to
and
know
it
about.
can be a challenge to meet them where they're at, just because you know you have to go out into that community. You have to be able to identify, and the only way to identify them as a veteran is to knock on every tent, knock on every RV door that we can, and just really get out in the community that way. And so, but it's still a challenge because encampments are constantly being moved. You finally make a connection with a veteran, and then you go back that next time, having made a plan with them to bring a snack or have a conversation, and they've been moved, and you have no idea where they're at. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that those populations are the most difficult to reach and to try to help accommodate,
Mhm.
um, just given the circumstances that they've been dealt, I guess, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think, in my profession in home care, most of the exposure I've had to it is the benefits of the respite care or the personal care for veterans to help the family caregivers you just talked about, because a lot of times they're so burnt out, and and it's great that we're able to give them somewhat of a break or do some respite care like that. But you already jumped into the question I was going to ask you about the challenges. I mean, certainly unhoused, and it's like there's different phases of this. So I'm amazed that you're going out. I mean, you are actively with intent trying to connect with veterans, whether they want the help or not, or you're trying to get them aware. I would imagine if they are of sound mind and they're, of volition, that once they learn about it, they're going to want some of the benefits. But what are maybe some of the other challenges? So let's say they're in a situation where, okay, they're stabilized from a living situation, getting them from point A to B, as far as like, so how long does it take, or what's the general process that people can expect once they contact you or you contact them to actually receiving the benefits? I know some are probably more immediate, like housing or something like that, where it's kind of a critical time sensitive thing. But as far as just general, let's say health type benefits.
Sure. So with those vulnerable populations, I would say the biggest challenge is the length of time that it does take. That and the condition of a lot of shelters. And I say that with the best intentions, knowing that the shelters do the best that they can and they
Yeah.
have, they work with the resources that they're given. But a lot of veterans will come in and say, I'm on the streets and I'm going to stay there until I can get these resources. However, the resources typically go to those shelters. They don't, and some of them do branch out, but it's easy for them to get to the veterans at those shelters. And so when they prefer not to go there, it is more of a challenge to assist. But if they don't want to, we have a lot of different connections with different partners in the community that we really rely on to help us kind of get them into a either a shelter that will, be veteran specific, which there's a couple. Some of the agencies in the community have hotel rooms where they will put the veteran until they can be housed. And so, then a lot of them, the ultimate goal is to work through HUD-VASH, going into the HUD-VASH program, which is the
Okay.
VA's version of Section 8, basically, kind of the best way to describe that. So, yeah, so that process can take anywhere from a couple of days to get them housed.
Hmm.
It can happen the same day. It honestly, it really just depends who you have a connection with and how fast that can happen. And
Got
I
it.
don't like to say that because it shouldn't be that way.
Hmm.
And I know that all the entities in the community, including the VA, everyone's working to figure out the best path and the best way to make
Yeah.
everything work. But
Right.
that process can take a long time. And so while the idea is to get them off the streets, that really is up to the veteran because sometimes a shelter isn't appropriate, especially with veterans who can't be around people, suffer from some kind of
Yeah.
mental health. And so at that point, I think that's where, some things definitely need to change and the process should be a bit more smooth. And of course, obviously one of the bigger, and we won't go into this too much, but
Mhm.
the ability to find housing for them in general that will take a voucher or that will just work with the veteran community in general.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
challenge.
Well, so that's like a really, because I've spoken to some of your colleagues about this, and there's numerous agencies that are all, helping in
Yes.
addition to the
Oh,
VSO to
yes.
help veterans get housing. That's a super complicated situation. So on a more simplified basis, simplified, I'll put in quotes. So let's say they're in an apartment or they're living with their spouse or it's the housing situation stable. But now they just learned, or they watched this podcast and said, you know, I should look into that. So they call you. So what does that process look like? And let's use it for like health benefits. Like let's say they're on Medicare or something right now, but they want to look into what their options are for veterans benefits, which potentially, like, we're talking about respite care, some of the other benefits they have available as well. What does that process look like, and how long can they expect from start to finish if they're participating in the process? Because I've sometimes I've steered people, that to you certainly, but also they've tried it on their own and they got kind of lost in the system, or they gave up, or they hit a wall. Because there are farmers to fill out, there are visits and appointments to do. So if you can give us just kind of a general idea of what that looks like, so they know what to expect.
And you're talking specifically about the healthcare side.
Yeah, I like the healthcare side. I mean, use that department as a, you
Sure.
know.
So, when it comes to applying for VA healthcare, it's a benefit, not an insurance. And so a lot of people get a little confused about that, but it is a benefit to the veteran. And if they have any other insurance, it could be Medi-Cal, Medicaid, Medicare, Kaiser, Sutter, Stanford, all of the other, you know, primary care doctors and physicians, wherever they come from, you can still apply for VA healthcare. And you don't have to leave your primary care doctor. But if they were wanting to switch, they would come see us because the form is very detailed and it I tell all my veterans when we're filling it out, I'm like, "I'm so sorry, this is such a nosy form, but we've gotta do it so that we can get you in the door." And so we fill it out with them. It's important for the veteran to know how much money is coming in, whether it's, income or Social Security, pension, whatever that looks like. It's important for them to know that number.
Hmm.
Roughly, it doesn't have to be like the exact penny,
Hmm.
but because the offset is what's important. So they also want to know how much are they paying out for medical expenses? Are they
Got it.
paying, and it's a broad, broad, broad spectrum. It's from dental care, if they had to enter a nursing facility and for rehab type, like for rehabilitation purposes, they count that. You count everything that you spend out of your pocket. And then from there, we submit it along with the veterans DD-214, which is their discharge document, and we submit that. And typically, we're very fortunate. We've been getting those back very quickly from the healthcare side, and we're
Great.
very grateful for that. I'm talking like 1 to 2 days where they say, "Hey,
Wow.
congratulations, your veteran has been accepted, and here's their tier." And the tier just means there's 8 of them, and it just depends. The top tier is gonna be your 50% service connected and higher, your, I believe any POWs, your Purple Heart recipients, you
Hmm.
don't pay anything at that point.
Okay.
And then a couple tiers below that, you don't either, and then below that, there are some that have copays, but they're very
Mm.
minimal,
Yeah.
and very affordable and reasonable. And then again, if you don't want to switch your provider, you don't have to. You do need to establish a primary care doctor at the VA and you see them once a year. And I say that because it's important because that's the referring physician. That is how a veteran can get their services, converted to community care if the VA can't help. And so that's how they get to somebody like you guys or, different mental health providers. And so that's what's key to getting that provider is you don't really need to see them if you don't want to. And that's okay. Some people don't like to go to the VA and that's understandable. And so really it's just that one visit and it can be a phone visit typically.
Okay.
Some older providers, from what I understand, do want that in-person connection, which I understand. But some are happy with a video visit to maintain that connection.
Got it. So so this is great information. Most people, aren't aware of this is so it sounds like you can stack the benefit on top of your existing care, especially if it's something that you're not receiving a benefit. So, again, back to respite care and those types of things, that is
Yes.
not a medical benefit that you would get through Medicare. That would be an out-of-pocket expense in most cases. This is where you could stack the veterans care or mental health. Let's say you've expired your mental health sessions with your Medicare Advantage or something like that, and now you can seek additional care. So that's I think one of the myths that I hear is that, "Oh, I don't wanna switch. I don't I'm happy with my health." You can stack on whatever gaps there are you can
Yes.
that you can receive from the VA.
Absolutely. And I think the best part about that is, the monetary part that I was just speaking of, the income coming in and then what they're putting out for expenses, that determines whether they have a copay or whether they don't. And so you don't necessarily have to have that service connection to be seen there. It's income based at some point, and then also it does tie into service connections. But yeah, I mean it's a big help because like you said, other insurance companies and medical providers don't always cover things, and so the VA is definitely a good, primary source, of course, but also that secondary. And that's one thing that veterans don't know is that we find the misconception is you have to have a service connection. You have to have some kind of relation in order to get in, and that's just not true. We can absolutely help with that, and we're happy to do.
Okay. Well, that's so I was just leading down that path. So you sounds like it's there are 8 different tiers as far as their level of, level of benefit that they would receive, and sounds like it's pretty broad on eligibility, but can you give an idea, like a general, like, what are the eligibility requirements regardless of the tier that they would come in, but like who are your typical veterans or families of veterans that are eligible for these types of services, or at least to start the conversation?
So for that one, the eligibility requirements are a mile long
Okay.
depending on a
Okay.
situation, so that's really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Well, let me stop you there. I mean, I don't want to discourage anybody. It sounds like, and this is fine for you to say, just call Amanda, and see where you land, because the
Yeah,
chances are you may be able to identify them as eligible even if they think they're not. So I don't want to
yeah,
discourage anybody or that may have benefits. So I don't want to go down that road. But
yeah. No, so I think the best bet is, like you said, call the office, ask for a
mhm,
benefits review.
yeah,
It could be done over the phone. You don't have to come in person. You know, just come and do it because again, there are different, the discharge type does factor into their decision. But again, just because you have a certain discharge type does not mean that we can't get you to a certain point. And so I would just say, come and see us, come and talk to us. Yeah, we're happy. We're happy to help. We're happy to be there and spread our knowledge. And so that's probably the best way
yeah.
to figure out healthcare for sure.
It sounds like, I mean, it sounds like if it's possible, you'll figure it out for them or help them get to
Absolutely.
that point.
Absolutely.
That's great.
The process is confusing and it's even more confusing to try to
Yeah.
explain. It's just we do it so
Right.
often that it's programmed into us and we're happy to go through that process with them
Right.
instead of them doing it alone.
And there's a number of different, like, aid in attendance, and then there's also, the community care, and there's just the different paths, and it is confusing, and each of those paths take a little longer and have their own complexity. So to have somebody like you is a huge benefit to kinda walk them down, kind of navigate that whole thing, because I know a lot of times people get frustrated and
Yeah.
it's, I'm sure, overwhelming.
Oh yeah. I mean, and you mentioned aid in attendance and housebound status. Those are complicated. Very, very
Mhm.
complicated. One has to do with service connection and, the abilities of the veteran. It's a lot to
Yep.
even explain. And so with those forms in general, that and pension, which is a low income based program, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of homework that the veteran is given, so
Yep.
to speak. And
Right.
so with those ones, we go step by step with them to make sure that they only have to do the process once
Right. Got it.
because it requires a lot of different forms. And so, yeah, those are if you're
Yeah.
considering, aid and
Right.
attendance or housebound care, come and see us.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
just kind of the point I wanted to make. Don't try to do it on your own because it is a little daunting unless you have an advocate, somebody who's maybe done it before or something like that, but even still, they should kinda go through you. I'm sure you have all the updates on the nuances, on the right way to approach and present,
yeah.
the information and submit.
Absolutely. As accredited veteran service representatives, we're constantly doing continuing education, learning different things as we go from each other. And so it's really important that even if you don't come to find us, please find a reputable, representative that will help you that doesn't you don't pay us, the county does. So if you're paying for that service, please
Yeah,
don't.
right.
And if
Well,
you're
I think
outside of
the
the
good
county or the state, we will still help you.
Yeah,
It's not county based, it's not state based. If you need something and we have clients outside of the country. So, um, we encourage everybody and anybody to call. Um, so
well, that's what I was gonna ask you because that's one of the things I try to bring up. I mean, this podcast is based on resources in Silicon Valley, which of course you
Of
are
course.
in. But if they live in a whole nother state, or is there a VSO in most counties or similar services that people, if they're watching us in somewhere that's not Santa Clara County,
Yep,
is that
absolutely.
typical?
Yeah,
Okay,
so throughout California specifically, there are VSOs in every county.
okay,
And we meet with them often. We get together a couple times a year and have conferences and
hmm
learn new things from the
hmm
VA, from Calvet, just all of the different agencies and entities that kind of govern what we do. But also, if you're not in California, just look for your local veteran service office or local veteran service representative. I did this previously in Utah as a veteran service representative, and we worked for the state. So
okay,
it can be different where you're at, but Google it or call somebody and ask if they can help you and figure that out. Typically, the Department of Veteran Affairs or Department of Veteran and Military Affairs, that's gonna be your go-to wherever you're at to find how you can best connect with, um, a VSR or a VSO in your area.
got it. And I think one of the differences too is like you are, like you said, you're paid by the county. You're not paid by the VA. I mean, you are an advocate for the
Yes,
veteran. So
absolutely.
you're in their corner, you're up to bat for them to make sure they get what they want. You're not approving anything, you're not reviewing, you are advocating for their best interest to get everything they're entitled to, to support them and their family.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what it is. We're advocates that will help walk them through the system, and we'll give our best advice, but at the end of the day, it's up to the veteran what they file for, what they feel like they wanna do, whether it's healthcare, service connection, whatever it is, we're there to assist. And really and again, denials are common when it comes to service connection, which is usually the big topic that everybody talks about. But we can that's not don't be discouraged. I know that it's disappointing, but work with your veteran service representative because there might be another way forward and typically there is. Typically the VA didn't see something or there's a number of reasons that happens. And so if there's a way forward, we will absolutely assist with that for sure.
Okay. Couple more things. So first of all, we're going to have all of your contact information in the show notes, so people don't have to write it down, and you don't have to rattle off your phone number. We'll have everything down there to the website and the emails and all the ways that they can contact your office. But also, and just because tomorrow there's a stand down event, which I wanted to also talk about in San Mateo. So this is north of us, and but could you describe? There are events, so they're coming to your office and connecting, and then you're going out to where they're at. But there are these events that occur, and some of them are 3-day events or 1-day events. That can you talk just a little bit about what these like stand down events are, and maybe we can encourage some people to go check it out and learn about a lot of different resources in one place.
Yeah, absolutely. Um Speaking from our county, I haven't been to the one that you were just talking about. I know that there's a couple throughout California. Ours specifically is coming up in November. It's November 6th
Mhm,
through the 8th. So
mhm,
to put that out there.
mhm.
And at that event, this is going to be our third annual veteran stand down, and we have been growing each year. We have had mobile dental that comes out. They're so incredibly amazing at what they do for the community. We've got mobile showers, we have clothing donations, we have food, we feed everybody. There's breakfast, lunch throughout the day. There's a mini claims clinic. I don't know how in depth that will be this year, so I can't really speak to that, but I think there's going to be something small, so stay tuned. And then you're going to have every entity that you could possibly think of there. Everything from the VA, healthcare, burial benefits, anything that you could think of, VA services will be there or will have the ability to connect you. We have justice involved veterans, and so we ask the justice and judicial community to come. And so last year we had the public defenders there. We had swords to plowshares that came to visit. They're really key in our community because they do a lot of discharge upgrades.
Okay.
And so that's a big deal in the community as well. We have employers, we have colleges that come out, a lot of different entities.
Mhm,
And so if you're looking for a specific resource, come
mhm.
to the stand
Yeah.
down, because that's where we really thrive and can show the community just what we can do when everybody comes together. But speaking in general terms, typically it's about services in the community that a veteran can get. So whether it's here, San Mateo, any county, it's just
Hmm.
what the veteran can get services for. Housing,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
couldn't even begin to tell you all of the
Right.
entities that come out. We are so fortunate that we've had so many connections in the community. It's been an awesome event that we've put on.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really
Well, that's
excited.
fantastic. So we're far enough in advance for November so we can get the word out for that. But this is an annual event. So if you're seeing this in 2026 or beyond, this is an annual event. And then you can also look into other events in your community. Like I mentioned, this is in various counties are having stand downs. It's a one-stop shop. You can go there and you can get a lot of information in one place in a shorter amount of time. And what I wasn't even aware of is you can get services right on the spot. So not only get a meal, but also, like you said, the mobile dental, all those things. So wow, what
Enrollment,
a
they'll do healthcare enrollment on the spot too. I just want to put that out there because a lot of times, like you said, just that one barrier of I don't know what I'm doing comes to
yeah,
mind, right? So come to the
yeah.
stand down, come see us. If we don't have that entity there that you're looking for, we will figure that out. We do have a couple other events that are really significant to the office as well. It's called Breaking the Stigma. They just had the event last Friday. It was a huge success, and it has been. We hold it every 6 months roughly. It's mental health related. So it's held in May and September because you've got Mental Health Awareness Month and then suicide prevention. And so I typically put that on, but it was amazing to have a partner this time around. I think you met Cynthia, our
Mhm.
other social worker for the Staff Sergeant Fox grant, and so her grant is specific to suicide prevention. So she hosted this one, and it was incredible. She did a really good job.
That's so
Yeah.
amazing.
I always have to put the plugs in there for mental health because that's my
No, I think that's great. I think that's a huge point is
yeah,
that a lot of times mental health or not, sometimes you're just overwhelmed and just even one more phone call to make. So to be able to show up to an event and make a connection with an actual person that is going to be an advocate for you, I think is huge. So
yeah.
thank you for that. That's amazing. So is there anything we missed? Any myth or anything that I mean, we're not gonna solve everybody's issue. I'm encouraging for anybody who is yet to take advantage of their benefits or explore if you're eligible for benefits, definitely call, the veteran services offices. But beyond that, it's like we covered quite a bit. Is there anything that we missed or a myth or something that maybe would be helpful for somebody?
I do wanna say one thing, and it is, of course, mental health related. I just want veterans out there to know and their caregivers, their family members. I know that 988 is available, and sometimes that's just not enough. So I want the veteran community and, of course, like I said, the caregivers and family members to know that it doesn't matter what their status is with the VA, whether it's, non-existent or they have all the services in the world. At any time, if they are experiencing a mental health crisis, all they need to do is go to the VA in Palo Alto and go to the ER and let them know you're having a mental health crisis, and they will assist you. They have to assist you. And I only say that because I don't want anybody to feel like they're gonna get turned away. They are incredible at what they do there. And we've had some instances where we've personally done a warm handoff and we've had great feedback from how they were treated and everything. So I just want to put that out there because that's
Yeah,
a big deal. And if you ever need a service that you just can't find on your own, call the office. That's why we're there.
right. Great. And I wanna make one point too, is that I've been doing a few of these podcasts and talking to people who are in the human services business. I mean, we talk about aging, but you're much more of a continuum of demographics of veterans. So, I mean, certainly there's quite a few that are seniors, but also not. But thank you so much for doing what you're doing. It is clearly a calling. I mean, you have a heart for this and it's coming through loud and clear. I mean, you're going out into probably dangerous situations to help people and also being very patient and caring and just that last part is like creating a great experience for someone who probably doesn't have a lot of great experiences a lot of the time when dealing with organizations, you know?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I just want to say thank you for doing what you do, because no one's getting rich doing these types of jobs. But you are, I'm sure, being fulfilled, and it's clearly a calling. I can tell that this is what you're meant to be doing. So thank you so much
Well,
for
thank
doing that.
you. I appreciate what you guys do too, and the connection that we've been able to make. I know we have a couple of shared clients, and they are so pleased. And so I thank you for that too, and making this connection, because working together is really what this is about, and helping the same community, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the whole point. So the synergy sessions, even though it's the name of my business, but synergy is we're all working together for the best outcome for
Yep,
the people we're serving. So
absolutely.
perfect. Great ending. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So thanks so much for coming on, Amanda. Really appreciate your time. And yeah, please contact Amanda's office, the Veteran Service Office of Santa Clara County, or whatever county you're in. You don't have to do it alone. Please reach out. They're there to help. So thank you so much. And thanks everybody again for joining us on the Synergy Sessions. Take
Thanks for
care.
having me.
Thank you for joining us on the Synergy Sessions. We know you have a lot on your plate, so we really appreciate you spending the time with us today. If you found the information in this episode useful, please reach out to the guest or the resources in the show notes. I know they would appreciate it and would love to help. Also, if you have an idea for a future episode, please reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook, or email us and let us know. We'd love to hear from you and provide information that's useful. Lastly, please remember, you don't have to do this alone.